So we had a lovely one through from Julie, who's got a 12-year-old collie who's sadly scared of like most noises, so thunder and fireworks, but even things like the washing machine. He's scared, he pants, he shakes, he tries to dig. So she's tried lots of veterinary sort of approaches, things like Zilkine, but nothing seems to have had much effect as yet. So I mean, obviously, with an older dog, we're looking at quite an ingrained behaviour. But in terms of with fireworks approaching, what I would think of first off, and before we sort of talk about how your supplements could help, Joe, I would think about really trying to create him a safe space. Now, if he does like to dig, creating some sort of area where he can actually dig and make himself like bury under something to make himself comfortable would be really good. So as you said, he sort of digs into sofas and things like that. If you can create some sort of layered bed or den, maybe perhaps in a stairwell or a cupboard or something where he can actually get in there and really dig himself into feeling comfortable, that might help him, because a lot of dogs who have this sort of anxiety really do feel the need to just escape and find somewhere safe and comfortable to hang out. So I would definitely be looking at trying to give him that space and not crowd him. If he wants some support from you, obviously provide that. But if he feels like he needs to retreat and find his own little safe space, then you being able to provide that for him will be really useful. So Jo, how do you feel that you might be able to help with that one?
Okay. Yeah, poor. Sounds really awful, doesn't it, as well, when he's getting himself into that state. So you're so right to be thinking about it now from our point of view. Obviously, like I say, it's quite a severe phobia, I would say. He's obviously really scared of bangs, and so we recommend with those sort of, like I say, more ingrained, to be starting giving our tablets now. So I know you've tried a few different supplements on the market. So ours is skullcap and valerian tablets, and they're actually, although they're herbal, they are a licensed medicine. So they're actually licensed by the VMD. So that means they have the quality issues and a huge history of use as well. So that's quite an important difference to supplements. These are like regulated. I would be giving him, like I said, starting daily now. And what we have is a bit of flexibility in dosing. So you start off at a little kind of 1 per 5 kilos body weight. You are given part of a herb, so it's not like a pharmaceutical and just give one tablet to like a great big dog. You take a bit more. 1 tablet per 5 kilos. And we want to start that now because you will see after a few weeks a kind of second improvement. And then what we say around those days you know are going to be worse. So like there's a display down the road, or obviously those few days around the 5th. Double up to 2 tablets per 5 kilos. You're giving them in the morning and in the evening, but the evening dose, I'd always say give it about an hour to 2 hours before dusk. And what these will do, they're not sedatives, they're not going to send him to sleep, but they help relax the nervous system. So help him feel a bit more comfortable and relaxed. And we tend to find the customers, reports back, say they're still aware, so which is great because they don't want to see their dog like knocked out with a kind of tranquilizer, full sedative from the vet. They'll kind of twitch their ears a lot, but still, so they're still hearing the bangs and fully aware, but they don't feel like they have to get quite so stressed because they feel a bit more comfortable. And with those tips that Caroline has said, and other ones as well, which I'm sure you will probably go into more detail over the next half an hour, they'll make him feel a bit more relaxed and secure. And we have had quite a few people come back to us, and actually their dogs were really, really stressed on fireworks, and over time they've actually become less noise phobic because they know there's nothing really to worry about. They feel that safe. So that's my advice. But yeah, don't leave it until week 4. I would definitely start giving now, and just something like skullcap and valerian, which will just relax them down a little bit.
Okay, and the difference between the sort of skullcap and valerian, just the valerian on itself, how do you tend to find that works? Is it better to have the combined one for more of a difficult?
Actually, the names are a little bit they don't actually, they're not quite that true in the fact that although it's called skullcap and valerian tablets, there's actually 4 herbs in that product. So there's mistletoe and gentian as well. And the valerian liquid, although it acts in a very similar way, 2 of the herbs are the same, one's different again. What we find with the liquid is that it gets into the system really quickly, but it doesn't last as long. So we use that almost as like a top up. So if suddenly you're giving your lower dose daily, we'll say 2 weeks down the road, and suddenly fireworks starts going off and you haven't increased the dose, you can just give a dose of the valerian compound, and it lasts for a couple of hours. So great for thunderstorms as well.
Right.
We even found for some dogs, if they're getting really stressed, and for cats as well is great, you can put some of the valerian compound on a cloth and put it in their bedding, so they will actually kind of smell it, so you'll get that kind of relaxing aroma that way as well. So it's a bit of a multifaceted approach, I guess. So,
that's fantastic. And what about if I'm not sure if she is still using any other medications, but can you actually use the skullcap and valerian alongside other things like veterinary sort of products like Zilkine or things like that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. There are no known interactions between skullcap and valerian. As a licensed product, we have to report those, so we've got a history in that. We haven't had any. We don't recommend it being used when they're pregnant or anything like that, just on the safe side. And if they're on heart medication or any other kind of prescription medication particularly, I would definitely just consult your vet, because that's just a really sensible precaution to take. But we haven't had any, and most of our customers will be using that perhaps with not necessarily other supplements for anxiety, because they normally find the skullcap and valerian is enough, but often with perhaps something for joints or something else as well, you know, especially in the older dogs. So, but no problems.
Oh, fantastic. That's great. So I really hope that's helped you, Julie, a little bit to get started. So definitely, as Jo was saying, we need to start thinking about it now. So I would actually think about as well setting up that den in advance, so your dog can get used to that space and it's not actually a scary space. You can sort of hide some treats in there, make it like a nice place for your dog to go and explore before they actually, on the evenings of the fireworks happening, they kind of suddenly you set up this den that they've never seen before, so they can get their scent in there, they can feel more relaxed about it in advance. So it sounds like, from Jo's point of view, get started on the skullcap and valerian now, and set up that kind of home environment for a nice calm place for your dog to hang out. So Leona has a 9-year-old whippet who's become more and more terrified by fireworks and thunder each year, shakes and pants and paces until about 2 hours after they finished. She's tried calming sprays and diffusers and a thunder coat, but they haven't helped as yet. So again, if your dog actually likes to move around, some dogs do, they like the walking sort of helps them burn off some of that nervous energy, then obviously we want to allow them that space and freedom. But for some dogs, they do pace because they can't find the right place to hide. So again, I would think about setting up a zone that allows your dog to go somewhere and feel comfortable should they want to seek that space, but never force them into it. A dog that isn't used to being in a crate or in a kind of confined area should never ever be forced into it, particularly if they are in a state of panic, as some dogs are during fireworks. You may also find that actually, as soon as the sort of fireworks end or before they've started, if you can give her something to chew, that might help as well, because if you can preempt that you're thinking it's getting dark now, they're about to start, giving stuff to chew can help, because chewing actually helps because it gives a dopamine rush to the dog's brain, so it's that happy juice. It also gives them something that's a nice job to kind of keep working on, and they're getting positive consuming food while those fireworks going on. So I always say, if your dog is at a state where it can eat, and your dog may not be able to, if it's really a high level of fear, then it may not be able to eat. But if they're able to before, or perhaps after the fireworks have ended, giving that something to chew after they've ended might help it just kind of calm down a little bit quicker, from my point of view. So we've got a 9-year-old, so it's not quite as old, but still quite an ingrained behaviour there, Jo.
Yeah, I've got whippets as well, so I know, and I've never had one scared. I was just saying to you, wasn't I? But unfortunately, one of mine has become noise phobic after a firework went off really close. So a lot of people think they're nervous dogs, but they're not particularly, actually. And mine have always been very calm. So 9 years old, yeah, I would still, obviously, every year it sounds like it's getting worse, because obviously the anxiety is just growing. So definitely I would start now exactly the same as I said, 1 for 5 kilos. So for whippets, probably between 10 and 15 kilos. So just like 2 or 3 a day, and then you can go up to double that. It was really great, those tips. I was just thinking about it. One of the things also we say is about making sure that they are quite exercised in that day. So take it out for really nice, like stimulating walks, and not even necessarily a long walk, but somewhere different. So it kind of tires them out, and lots of kind of sensory overload, and then they'll be tired out from that. And I was always saying about starting those games, or those really tasty treats or something really nice to chew, way before the bangs start, because like you were saying, once you get to that point, it's hard to bring them back down again, isn't it? So definitely start Stockholm Valerian now, 9 years old, carry right through. I was saying some of our customers, depending on where you are, if you live in quite a built up area, they actually continue right through to cover Diwali, New Year's Eve, and right into January. And that way you kind of, you're safe. You're not going to be thinking, oh, I hope there's no more fireworks tonight, in November. So definitely start now and just have that compound on hand. I mean, great thing about whippets, they generally love being wrapped up in lots of blankets and like something warm, and that can be quite sound muffling as well. So if you've got one of those cozy caves or a duvet they get wrapped up in as well, that can be quite a good one for them as well, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I know particularly, we've sort of talked about sighthounds and collies. They are sensitive breeds, but also a lot of dogs, they start off with phobias either because they've had a traumatic event that has happened around a noise, or they've just been spooked. But often it starts with things like thunder, which can actually be a sensation effect. So it's when that thunder, the built up of static can affect their skin, and all those little nerve endings they have on their fur, and we're going to get probably more storms, and we're going to get fireworks from sort of Halloween through, like you said, through to New Year. But when we have a dog that the things like fireworks can build progressively, it can start with maybe a fear of something like a storm because of the physical effect they felt from it, and it can move over, and these behaviors tend to generalize out. There are lots of amazing ways that we can work to help our dogs be desensitized to sound, and help them sort of cope with that through a really, really slow process of helping them feel more comfortable by very small sounds building up. But we are coming up towards, we're pretty close now towards fireworks season. So actually, we're probably a little bit late in the game to be able to start doing desensitization. We're also, what we don't want to do, because when our dogs get stressed, a hormone is created called cortisol, which hangs around in the body for quite a few days, minimum of 72 hours, but it's probably going to last for a bit longer. If we do anything that's going to sort of stress our dogs out prior to the fireworks happening, then all we're doing is we're setting them up to be already stressed before those occasions. So I would probably try and keep things really, really calm for the next sort of month before the fireworks start. Try and keep your dog as relaxed as possible. If they have really hectic, crazy days where they seem to be overwhelmed by the world for any reason, or they get a spook from a noise, give them a really quiet indoor day the next day, and just make sure those cortisol levels are really low before we get to the point where they're going to be scared by things. It also it pays the other side as well. Once fireworks season has ended, we want to give them a good couple of weeks to get over all of that before we think about starting that desensitization program. The sort of desensitization program can be something that you work through with a behaviorist. We're going to be doing some of it over in our brand new Barket Club as well, where we're going to work on some training around sounds for dogs. But it definitely is something that you want to do slowly and never build up when your dog is already at a state of stress.
That's such an interesting point, because I know a lot of people use like the noise desensitization, but obviously sometimes they don't think about it till a week before, and like you said, if that actually triggers that stress levels. So I would just add as well that we have just put a blog up, and actually the only reason I'm mentioning it because it was about whippets, and it was a lady with two of her 3 whippets were really noise phobic. Just add as well that we have written a lovely thing to us, and actually it's on the Dorwest, on the Dorwest.com on our blog page. So have a look, because it's quite relevant. Your whippet, well, relevant to all owners, but if you're a whippet owner, it's especially interesting. So.
Oh, brilliant! Yes. Was that the one about the sort of signs of stress to watch out for?
No, that's another one.
Okay,
which
cool.
is the one to identify, because some people, I think, don't really realise the dog is that stressed. Those little kind of like slight signs, which I know you've had a look at, and then if you can. The worst thing I think with noise phobia is if you miss those initial signs, and then, like I say, it gets worse and worse and worse, and you get to the dog to that point where it's so bad, it is quite hard to get them back down. So if we try and you start seeing those first signs of being a little bit scared of noises, you try and start doing the techniques now. So that's really important. yeah, this was more of a case study, but it was just so interesting because there were rescue rippets as well, and like 2 of them had really bad phobias, so it's definitely worth checking out.
Oh, that's brilliant. Great. Sorry, I'm just going to open up my phone because for some reason I'm only seeing some of the comments and I can see there's lots there, but I can't. And I just tried to open them up here and then I got the sound reverbing. So I'm really sorry about that, everyone, but I'm just going to check these comments. There's a lot of people here, which is lovely. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Hi to Kyle, Helen, Mary Jane, Claire, Janet, Alison, Sarah, got lots of people there saying that there's some really good advice going on, which is great. Oh, Alison's saying they can't hear you very well, Jo. So yeah, if you can try and speak up a little bit, then that would be amazing. I know we sort of tested the sound before and it was a little bit sketchy, but it seemed to have come through well. So oh, glad you're enjoying it, Sarah. Thank you you said some great points there. Yeah, so hopefully, can I still hear you, Jo?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I'm probably a bit loud actually, so I'm trying not to be too shouty.
Oh, you've got to compete with me, so that's I'm always the loudest. Our last one we had was, and I'm really sorry, I couldn't find, I know I've seen it, but I couldn't re-find the comment because it had gone somewhere on a post, was from a lady who had an anxious a dog, and she had a new puppy in her household, and she doesn't want the puppy to learn from the older dog to kind of respond to the same fearful behaviours, which is a really interesting one. Obviously, our dogs do learn from things that happen around them in their environment, and it can be really difficult if you have got one dog that responds to things. You know, I mean, I know dogs can learn to bark if the other dog barks. They kind of feed off each other's energy. So if you've got that one sort of riled up dog, the others will sometimes join in just because they feel that atmosphere changing. So what I would try and do is think about having really separate settle areas for your dogs during fireworks time. So if your puppy maybe has a nice crate or den area, then perhaps popping them into there with something really nice and tasty to chew and play with when the fireworks going off. And if you are in the kind of lucky situation to be able to have a couple of people around, so one can hang out with one dog and one can hang out with the other, you're allowing to make it a really positive experience for the puppy. Particularly at this age, it's really, really vital that we don't give them any bad experiences. I'm not sure exactly how old the puppy was, but really anyway, from baby upwards, we want to make sure that the pups are getting really good experience about the world, not anything negative. So what I would do is try and set up different areas for them. We don't want to exclude the older dog, who's going to be feeling panicked. If they seek your attention, then please do give it. I know there's a lot of theories on kind of the idea of reinforcing fear by actually consoling your dog if they're fearful, but I feel like if your dog is fearful and it wants to get your attention, all you're going to be doing is giving that calm support to your dog, and you're actually meaning that you're continuing your good bond with your dog. If you shun them in a state of panic, they're going to not trust you, and they're going to feel worse in that situation. So I don't feel like you can actually reinforce fears, particularly when it's something like fireworks in their own home. We want them to feel secure and comfortable in their own home. So do give support to your older dog. With your puppy, what we want to try and do is make it really fun. So any bang that goes off, you give them a treat. So you're adding good stuff, you're making that real positive connection. So their emotional response to any bangs is actually to have that food presented. If you can, before, as it's a young puppy and kind of good to learn quite quickly, in the meantime, if you've got any opportunity to be able to have the other dog out of the home, you could practice with some noise CDs of the fireworks, feeding the dog, because we know that puppies are generally more resilient and going to kind of, as long as it's a positive first experience with those noises, then they're probably going to be okay with it. But what we don't want to do is obviously have a situation where you're setting your older dog off by doing anything to try and train your puppy into feeling good about those noises. Anything to add there?
That's great. And I was just thinking about learned behaviour, and although yes, like you were saying, from other dogs, but also they learn from us, don't they? So also, although you're going to be supporting your dog, don't let their stress you out too much, because that's probably what your puppy might pick up on, is your stress rather than the other dog stress. So personally, I if you're going to use the skull cap and valerian tablets with your stress dog, which sounds like it might be a good idea, all my other ones, actually, it sounds like I've got a horde, but I've only got 4.
Only 4. I'm not allowed more than 2, so you're lucky.
The 3 that aren't scared, I still give them all skull cap and valerian for just 2 days before, just because I think, do you know what, all those bangs when they do go off, it makes me jump a little bit. So I think it just keeps them a little bit calmer, make sure there's nothing to worry about. So that's my only thing. So don't think you have to have a dog that's absolutely petrified to use our products, because they're gentle but still effective. They'll just calm them a little bit. So, and you know, if they're feeling even more calm, that's got to be a good thing, rather than risking them reacting in a way that they're upset. So.
And is there any sort of minimum age, or are puppies, would you give them a smaller dose, or is it just, again, just based on their weight?
Yeah, it is just based on their weight, and say from 8 weeks of age. So all of our products are, so absolutely fine, but just make sure you give the weight appropriate dosage. Yeah.
Fantastic. And is it okay to feed it with food as well? So
any which way, yeah. Everyone says you can crush them. They're not the easiest to crush because one of the herbs is quite a sticky herb. But with food, or some of them take them like sweeties, or obviously in, you know, a bit of cream cheese or something like that. Whichever way is easiest for you. It doesn't matter. They don't have to be given with food. It doesn't do any harm. So. Yeah.
And if you've got a dog who's really, really good at sort of going, I know there's a pill in that bit of cheese. I would go for giving a piece of cheese, a piece of cheese, a piece of cheese, then a piece of cheese with the tablet in it. But give them a few first, so you're not just going in straight with that one that's got that tablet in it. Because don't underestimate a dog's nose, and they will smell something out that, you know, from a mile away. So yeah, but you know, it like you said, it's a natural ingredient, so it's not something that's going to harm them, but hopefully will help support them through that.
Yeah, it's almost supporting them, isn't it? Because I mean, I think it's the best way to go, and especially with all those tips as well. I think that it is just being prepared, isn't it? That's the main thing. That's why I'm so pleased people are listening now, because we do unfortunately get a lot of people just the day before panicking, and in some cases, if your dog is really, really noise phobic, it's quite hard to know what the best things to do. It is just those last minute tips, which we will be sharing a lot of those towards the day, and I'm sure you will.
That's great.
Well.
Yeah, no, that's really useful. I mean, I know I've got friends who actually go away to the countryside, like further to the countryside or to the beach, for fireworks night every year, because it just helps their dog, because there's less firework displays there. I mean, you know, unfortunately, as much as we kind of try and petition to get fireworks to become a little bit more regulated, so that there aren't quite so many big displays going on all the way through, we are in a state where we are going to get fireworks for quite a few weeks. So it is really just trying to think about making your dogs as comfortable as possible. And really important, one of the ladies who'd asked earlier about, you know, mentioned that their dog had destroyed a sofa through fear. If you've got a dog who does any destruction through stress, you know, never ever punish them for it, because that would just compound that fear even more. When we add something negative into that situation, we're going to make that fear so much more ingrained, and potentially risk our dogs having a much harder time, or perhaps even aggressing towards us, because they just don't know how else to cope in that situation. So it's really thinking about trying to set up a really nice environment for your dogs, give them the support that you can through adding those skull cap and valerian tablets like as soon as possible, start them now, and setting them up like kind of calm environments to be in, really.
I just thought of another point, is that I think the main displays are going to be around the 3rd of November, because that's a Saturday this year. Right. And obviously Halloween is only a few days before. And when you're talking about keeping the stress levels low, if you're in an area where you have a lot of children dressed up knocking around, that can be quite stressful as well. So that might create a bit of a peak, cortisol peak, only a couple of days before those firework displays. So we would be thinking before Halloween as well, definitely.
Absolutely. And like Joe was saying, you know, in terms of giving them a nice, calm, like exploring walk, something to really use their brain, make sure those walks are early in the day, because I find that Halloween trick-or-treating can start straight after school pretty much, because people don't want to have their little tiny kids out late. So seeing people out dressed up, you know, can be its own scary thing, aside from fireworks.
Really scary, aren't they, for dogs? I mean, for us, but for dogs, masks and hats and things can be quite scary. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I'll probably talk again, I did it last year, but I'll probably talk again about why not to potentially dress up your dog as well, just before Halloween. Yeah, I mean, I think it's just trying to be prepared and trying to set up our dogs for as much success in this situation as possible. If you have, again, like going back to the puppy, if you've got a dog that is younger and you don't know how they're going to respond, then definitely adding in, if you want to add something in, like the skullcap and valerian, just to kind of, you know, make sure that they are at that lower level of stress, but then adding them in lots of fun stuff to do. So maybe do some trick training during the biggest, loudest part of the fireworks. So your dogs are thinking with that task side of their brain rather than that emotional side of their brain. That will help them feel a little bit more relaxed, because they're going to be less stressed as well. So yeah. Oh yeah, Mary Jane said, what about Diwali? It's just before bonfire night as well, this year. So that's quite, yeah, it's going to be a big banging sort of.
It's going to be a busy time, yeah.
Claire's just asked, can she use the tablets with the valerian compound? So I think we kind of mentioned that earlier, but do you mind just going over that again, Jo?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, the tablet's absolutely fine to use with the valerian compound. So ideally, quite often I'm saying they use the tablets daily, because you do get that better coverage, and it builds up in the system a little bit. But if suddenly a thunderstorms or fireworks go off like next door and you weren't planned for it, by increasing the dose of the tablets, you can just give them some of the valerian compound. It's great to have on hand all year. I mean, summer storms and summer fireworks, we've obviously had a bit of that. So we've a lot of our customers have been using it for that. So it's great kind of cupboard essential to have, and you can quickly administer it, but it just lasts a couple of hours. So it's more of an emergency one, but for more severe phobias, it is important to give a course of the tablets.
Right, that's great. That's brilliant. Oh, fantastic. Oh, well, thank you so much. I mean, so many of you have joined us tonight, which has been lovely. Really nice to have so many people sort of, you know, getting ready and preparing themselves for fireworks, which I think is the most important thing, is that we're just there to support and help our dogs. Jo, if they want to find out some more information about Dorwest, or just to come and get some of your tablets or the compound, how do they find you?
Yeah, so the website is dorwest.com, and pop on there, and there's a whole page on fireworks. We have got a special offer on the moment for buying the tablets and the compound together, so that's definitely worth looking at. And a little tip, that if you pop onto our website and sign up to our newsletters, you can get a free delivery code as well, so you can use them together. So that's a good one.
Love the tips.
Yeah, so find us. And what we are also doing this year on the website, you can click on there for a free calming plan, which is personalised to your dog. So you fill in a little questionnaire, and our advisors will send back, and they'll work out all the dosages for you, tell you when to start, and have all the information on the plan. And you can cut that out and put it on your fridge as well as a reminder. So that's a great one. So yeah, but there, and you can ring as well and chat to our product advisors on the phone, and the phone number's on the website.
Oh, that's brilliant. So lots of help and support for you there at dorwest.com, which is great. If anybody of you would like some more help in terms of actually from the behavioural side of you, or helping your dogs with sort of training for next year for fireworks, I know we're kind of quite close to the mark now, then you'd be more than welcome to come over and join our brand new Barket Club, which is an ongoing monthly training club. But we don't just deal with training, we deal with all sorts of things to help and support our dogs. So it's brand new, just launched last week, and we've got again a special offer on joining at the moment. So I will pop the link for Dorwest Herbs into the description of this video, and the link for the Barket Club if you want to check out any of those for more information. This video, I hope you can sort of share it with anybody who might be of interest. If you know people who have got dogs who are noise phobic, or getting sort of, would it be fearful around fireworks, then please do share it with them. And we just really appreciate you all coming along tonight. It's been lovely to see so many comments, and if you've got questions to follow up later, please do feel free to add them on, and I can always point Jo in the direction of answering if it's related to that. But thank you all so much for being here, and thank you, Jo, for coming to join me tonight.
Thank you, my pleasure. Thanks so much. It's been great. Thanks everyone.
Brilliant. Great. So have a lovely evening, everybody, and we will see you soon.